It's also leading to questions surrounding the city's 911 center.
Do you know how many people are on board?
I have no idea. I just watched it happen. I mean, the airplane took off in this crazy weather, and then.
Did you see an actual plane? Did you see an actual plane? Or did you actually see a plane?
And hello, they all went unanswered. 4 different people called 911 about the plane crash, and each call had to be returned.
911, we got a call from your number. Do you have an emergency?
Yes, ma'am. Plane crash at the over at College Station. Looks like.
Are you seeing? Did you see an actual plane crash, or are you just seeing some smoke?
No, I watched it crash, fireball.
Records reveal 4 people dialed 911 Wednesday after seeing.
Did you actually see a plane?
Yes, ma'am. I watched it from the time it rolled off the end of the runway, took off, and I'm like, man, you know, they were in rough shape. It started losing altitude. It banked off to the left and stalled and went down.
When someone dials 9.
Hi, for direct 911, we had a call from this number. Is everything okay?
And I just watched an airplane take off, headed to the south, and it crashed and had a giant fireball.
The city says each call was returned within 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay, crash, or are you just seeing some smoke?
No, I watched it crash, fireball.
Do you know how many people are on board? How many people are on board?
This is what we know. 5 employees of an environmental consulting firm died when a small airplane they were traveling in crashed near a Little Rock factory today, shortly after taking off. It's an environmental consulting firm based in North Little Rock. They said the 5 people on board the plane,
one person was assigned to answer 911 calls. A second person was answering 911 calls.
Take a look at that explosion. Well, these 5 individuals from this environmental consulting firm were on their way responding to this scene this week. That explosion there killed 1.
I have no idea. I just watched it happen. I mean, the airplane took off in this crazy weather, and then it ended up just rolling into the ground.
Happened just prior to 9 o'clock, and Norfolk Southern didn't even alert the federal government that they had a train wreck till almost 11 o'clock that night, some 2 hours later. So the initial burn happened. The wreck. They clearly stated several times that there was 5 cars with the vinyl chloride. They thought 3 of them was completely intact, and they estimated that 2 of them was half full. So, I don't know how they estimate. But when the manifest come out, it said that sulfide chloride trains, whatever chloride, that 4 of them was intact. So, they just keep changing the story to make themselves look better. And if it wasn't for the media and, people keeping this in the spotlight, the best thing we can get is the publicity to keep this thing going.
Had that thing cleaned up and the train running through within 48 hours. They laid those tracks right over top of that, and there is no way that they hauled any of it out. They laid it right over top. And the fire department, when this initially happened, it's a fire. They're trying to put it out. They're spraying it with water. Where'd that water go? Mm-hmm. It's right in the ground, in the soil, and they laid those railroad tracks over it. People, and the thing is, they weren't allowed to run the train through an evacuated area. So as soon as them train tracks were done, the evacuations lifted. People that came home the night we didn't come home till the next morning, but there were people that came home that night. They had videos. They had to wait on the train because the train was already up and running before they could get back in their houses. Now, is that a coincidence that they weren't allowed to run through an evacuated area and all of a sudden the train's ready to go and the evacuation was lifted? I think not.
Don't tell people it's safe when you're not seeing these results.
They're in an evacuated area, the railroad can't run through it.
These kids are walking through this.
Mm-hmm. 3 of my nieces, 2 of the 2 twins, Stella and Jenna, they both have chemical burns of their lungs. They just got diagnosed 2 days ago, and her sister as well. Her brother has high liver enzymes at this point. And all these are just and at first it just seemed like it was okay. And it's not like a lot of situations where immediately you feel the impacts of what you just inhaled or whatever virus you are carrying. This is just now starting to affect the people.